The title of the talk that I have put together today comes from a phrase that many of us have heard, and it's something that actually started because of people attempting to do something for entertainment. And that phrase is, "Don't give up your day job." And I've heard a lot of that in my lifetime, from one place or another. So what is the day job? Well, when I was a young boy, I guess I was about 12, and I think I probably have, as long as we've been together, told this story to you, that I went to my father and I said, "Daddy, I think I know what I want to be when I grow up." And he said, "What?" And I said, "I want to be a musician." And he said, "Well, then you're going to have to get in the truck with me and learn how to do what I do." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because if you want to be a musician, you're going to have a day job." You know, he was right. It wasn't something that I immediately started making money at. It was many, many years before I actually started making enough money to actually call it a job, playing music. But before that, every Saturday morning when I was still very young and going to school, and then all summer long, I would work with my father. I'd get in the pickup truck with him, and we'd go out to some job site, some house that was being built, and we would either on that day, we would put in the electrical work, or we would put in the plumbing work, or later on, when I got a little older, he advanced and expanded his business, and we would do the HVAC work, the heating and the air conditioning work. Well, I wasn't real happy as a young boy about driving off on Saturday mornings as we would turn the corner by the school where I lived in the little small town of Edmond, Oklahoma. And I would see all the other boys my age out there choosing up teams for a put together baseball game. And I would see them, and a lump would be in my throat as I would, and some anger and resentment was created for me. I didn't know what that was at the time, but later I knew that that's what it was. And I thought how unfair it was for me, a little kid, had to go out and work with my father doing a guy's work, doing a man's work, and it just seemed wrong to me. But of course it was my father, and so, fathers are to be obeyed, and so I did the work. He made it very easy work for me in the beginning. It was just simple little tasks, strip these wires and put them in and bend them over and put them in the back of this duplex receptacle, which he always had me call it, never a plug, and squeeze them down and so forth, and learn how to bend them back and put them in the wall and screw them together. Or learn how to read the plans, the electrical plans, so that I could walk around the room with a box full of metal duplex receptacle and switch boxes and lay them down around the room while he took a drill and drilled through the 2x4 studs so that we could string the wire through the house. And I learned how to do all that, and then after I laid all of them out, I would take a hammer and go around and nail them up on the side of the 2x4, and he would string the wires. He would use the big tools. Then later, as I got a little older, then I was using the big tools, and somebody else was helping me. And often they would be amazed that a little teenage guy could know how to do all of these things. And my father was very, very proud of me for knowing how to do that. I loved the job, actually. I got to where I loved doing the work. It was amazing. I wanted to see how fast and how good I could do it, and I really enjoyed it in life. Learning how to do plumbing work, how to take copper pipes and cut them off and put sandpaper around the edges and flux on there and solder pieces together. And doing all that measuring was just, I was a little bit proud of myself for knowing how to do these things. Well, that's what happened then. It was also a wonderful job in that after a while the tasks became repetitive. Repetitive enough that my mind could be free to think and write and wonder and create. So I started writing little songs in my head during those times, and then in the evenings I would come home and he taught me how to play guitar. And, it sounds like a pretty ideal life, doesn't it? It's fun. It really was. It was a lot of fun. But the great thing about it is that as I set out on my own to try to create this job of working in the music business. They shouldn't call it a business. They should call it a creative endeavor, but it's not really a business. It's kind of a slap together kind of thing. As I was out there learning and trying to do this and playing a lot of places for free and all the beer you can drink and that sort of thing, I would fall back from time to time on these trades. And so I would have a little handyman service going all the time. Or I was able to fix things in my own house that other people weren't able to do. If there was a leak in the plumbing, I could fix it. If there was a switch that didn't work any longer, I could fix it. I could change out the light fixtures in the house. I could do many things. If something was broken, I could put it back together. I'd find out where the problem was and fix it. And that has been such a wonderful thing to know from my day job that my father taught me, that I was able to do things and feel like I had a sense of accomplishment in my life. Now, many people, I know that one of the things that happened when I first moved here, I moved here in this area from the Tennessee area. I was a minister in Nashville, Tennessee. There were times, a couple of times, when I went out to my car and it either wouldn't start or there was a flat on the car. Immediately, men in the church would drive up and pull up next to me and open up the hood of the car and pull out their jumper cables and get me going again. Or they would immediately dig through the trunk of my car, find the spare and the jack, and jack it up for me because I was in a suit and they wanted to help the minister and it made them feel good, and me too. So they would change the tire for me. Then I moved here and I started becoming the minister at Unity of Fairfax. I remember one day I went out and I had a flat, and many of the men came out to look at the flat, and they immediately got on their cell phones to call AAA. There's a different culture altogether, different culture. Nobody jumped out there to fix the tire. Why? Because most of the time either they were in a suit, didn't want to get dirty, or they didn't know how. They just didn't know how. They knew other things. They had a different kind of day job. And what they had created and learned was totally different sort of white collar, not blue collar kind of existence. It wasn't a hands-on kind of thing. Now, you've heard this story. What in the world does that have to do with the Sunday morning talk? Don't give up your day job. Spiritually speaking, you have to ask yourself, well, what is my day job? And what is this other thing that I want to pursue? Could it possibly be that they're the same thing? Could it be? Day job, that which we do in the light, that which we do in the light of day, that which sustains us and carries us through and gives us a sense of well-being and a sense of accomplishment in our lives. In our spiritual life, we have a day job. You know, Jesus said, now, my burden is light. Do you think possibly he didn't mean that it just didn't weigh very much? That what he had to give us for us to carry was light. Well, in English it works out that way anyway. His burden is light, and he will give us rest. That was the promise made by one who came before us, our way shower, our elder brother, our master teacher, one of our master teachers. Every one of them teach us how to have a day job. Now, I very carefully call this don't give up your day job instead of don't quit your day job. Quitting is just totally divorcing yourself from something. Giving up a day job means that you have laid it down and aren't doing it any longer. Don't give up your your day job, as opposed to don't quit your day job. There's not a one of us on this planet or on this realm of existence that can quit our spiritual day job. But we can all give it up. We can give it up and put it aside by being distracted by so many things that are going on around us, many of them which are darkness, many of them which lead us into negativity, fear, doubt, confusion. But there's always the day job. There's always the getting back to the work that we were meant to do, the work that we were created to do and that we have been taught to do since the beginning of time. Every one of us have within us this ability to do the work that's meant to be in the light. Every one of us have this ability. Now, we get confused and we step aside from that. And we say to ourselves, well, you know, somebody else maybe is more spiritual than I am and can understand this stuff. But for me, it's not really mine to do. It's just not mine. I don't even want to involve myself in that, because if I do, I just get more confused and I'm just not sure which of these spiritual paths is the right path. And we just kind of lay back and finally just sort of give up the idea of having any path at all in our lives. Not necessarily this group that's sitting here today in this room, but there are many on this planet who feel that way. They feel like it's just beyond me, or I will just accept what has come before me. And even if it's a lie, I will stay with it, because that's what I've come to believe, and that's what people before me have believed. But I say to every one of them and to us today, don't give up. Don't give up this day, this job done in the light. Don't give it up. It's actually all we have to do. It's the most important thing we have to do for each and every one of us. Not just ourselves, but for those who come after us. Just like my father taught me to do something in the day which would sustain me and allow me to pursue that which I wanted to pursue, so we too can bring forth for other people, people who are coming later, children, friends, relatives, whoever it might be, strangers, foreigners to a new soil, whoever it might be. Don't give up the seeking and the working for light in your life. Always seek it. Now, what is this light I'm speaking of? Some people think that it's just, it's the religion of my youth. Well, maybe no. Maybe that's not it at all. Maybe that's not that which you were meant to do. Maybe it's something deeper, something that you're really searching for. Something that will sustain you and will help you and will guide you into a path that really does finally bring you to the light. You know, Jesus was not out to try to create a new religion. He was out to try to awaken every one of us to the being that we truly are. He didn't care about whether or not you were Jewish or Gentile or whatever. He was really trying to get us to awaken to that. So was the Buddha. The Buddha was trying to get us to awaken to the idea that life, although it appears to be so difficult and in darkness, the true nature of who we are finds and pursues and achieves awakened behavior, awakened awareness, awakened consciousness. And when we're awake, we see the light. We get it. We go beyond that which has gone before us, which we simply did in a drudgery kind of way, and we suddenly see that, this can be done with less care. I can be happy doing anything. Now, as a young boy, as I said, I resented the fact that I was taken away from my baseball games or my basketball games or whatever it might be. But you know, all I was taken away from is a temporary game. And the same thing occurs when we spend our time searching for the light, that day job. When we are working on that, all these other things that we think are so important in our lives become what they truly are, just games. Ways to kill time. That's all they are. And the winning and losing and being right and being wrong, it just all goes away. In the day job, our idea and that which we pursue is to be happy, to be free, to be whole, and to be authentic, authentically who we are. You can't find that every day just in the outer world, but you can find it every day in the inner world. So, my lesson for each of us today, including myself, is don't give up that day job. Pursue it. Refine it. Perfect it. And then you too will have something that you can look back on and say, that was worth doing. God bless.